Yeah, no, it's exactly bang on. That's absolutely correct. And so one of my pet peeves is I get emails from other coaches looking to use HRV, which is awesome. I love that. But a couple of times they will literally send me one data point. So one case, guy sends me a data point, and the athlete was in like 92 or something, so really really high.
Right.
And they say, "Hey, this must be good. He's good to train today, but his training was horrible." And I'm like, "Okay, well, one, that's one data point, right? And then two, because it's one data point, you don't know what the trend and where they've been. So you always have to take that data and relate it to what are their symptoms." So I email them back, explain that, and said, "Well, how do they feel? What's been going on? How's their training? How's their performance?" And he goes, "Oh, it's horrible. They just feel like dog food lately." And he sends me, about what they had done in the past. I'm like, "Holy crap." I said, "Well, how has his performance been, the last couple of weeks, couple of months?" He said, "Oh, it's just been, nosediving." And you're correct. What appears to happen is if you stress the body will actually respond by increasing sympathetic. And that's good, right? So if we go all the way back to survival based, if there's a lion that's chasing you, you want the ability to increase the sympathetic output to run as fast as you can, get away from the lion. But as stress goes on and on, your sympathetic system does get ramped up higher and higher and higher. At some point, your performance and everything starts dropping. You feel worse. You use more coffee, pre workouts to get to the gym. Your speed of execution of lifts drops. Everything, all the internal factors that you would normally feel from your body, literally start telling you, this is not good. We can't do this forever. But I've had people who have just ignored that. And what happens is literally within a very short period of time, sometimes a couple days, they go from becoming very, very sympathetic driven to literally almost being parasympathetic overnight.
Hmm.
And I think it's exactly what you said is that if you believe the body is wired for survival, for physiology, which I definitely believe, your body's been saying, "Hey, I've been telling you for weeks or months, this isn't working. I don't feel well. I'm cutting your performance. But damn it, you still keep going to the gym and pounding the crap out of yourself. So I'm literally going to make you feel so horrible and so bad that you are going to do nothing but lay around and drool on yourself. Because if you keep going beyond that, I literally believe that you'll probably kill yourself, right? You will stress yourself out so bad that that's it. So it's almost like your body like pulling the string and saying, "Oh, that's it. This is the final straw. You haven't been listening. I'm going to make you feel so crappy that you're not going to be able to do anything." And if you have athletes who get to that point, and the spectrum, we'd say they've gone from overreaching to classically overtrained, it's literally many, many, many months. Some of them, if they're a very high level athlete, may never get back to the same level that they were before just because they've, torched their body. Unfortunately, I've worked with a few clients who have actually done that. So,
That's pretty crazy. So when taking HRV, when somebody recovers from that parasympathetic overtraining, would you gradually see the HRV drop back into sympathetic zone before it raised back up to parasympathetic zone?
yep. So what you'll see is they'll flip. And so the
Yeah.
two things to look at is one, obviously, high HRV, meaning high parasympathetic driven. Their heart rate may go up or may go down depending on where they're at. But you will see, correct, over time, their HRV will start to actually go down,
Right.
normalize, and then actually come back up again.
Yeah. So without any like aggressive training, basically, while you're resting,
Right.
you're seeing your HRV drop.
Yep, yep. Because what you're looking for, again, it always goes back to I get emails from people that are like, "I want to be more parasympathetic driven." Cool, that's correct. If your HRV is sympathetic driven, that's correct, but that can be going too far.
Right.
So you want to get that balance back. And then what you'll see on the graph, if you watch the HRV, it'll actually go down, normalize, and then it'll actually start to come back up again. And if you compare that to their resting heart rate, those will normally flip. So one of the graphs that I run for my clients is just very simply take all the data, compare their HRV to their resting heart rate. And Carl Valley calls this the death pinch. If you see HRV plummeting and resting heart rate coming up, and I've had a few clients where they actually cross. Their resting heart rate is much higher than their HRV. They're absolutely in a world of hurt.
Right.
So that's also another thing to look at too. Because again, what is that? It's a stress response, right? Higher resting heart rate is telling you that the body is dealing with a lot of stress. The first time I started an HRV, I ended up getting a sinus infection. I literally woke up one morning and I took the measurements and I went, what the F is this? My resting heart rate's 83. It's normally a 47, 50. And my HRV was 47. It's normally a 60, 70. And I thought it was a mistake. So I redid it again. And then I'm like, well, how do I feel? Oh my God, I feel horrible. I feel like I'm burning up. I feel sick as hell. And yeah, so it makes sense, right? What is that? Massive stress response, illness. HRV anecdotally does seem to be pretty good at picking up immune changes too. So if I see someone where they're starting to head down, I may actually have them take a few days off, do some lower intensity stuff, whatever, because I know that if they keep going in that direction, and I've unfortunately done this to myself, most of the time they will get sick at some point.
Yeah.
Right? Because the immune system is highly tied into all those responses, right? It's one of the body's ways of dealing with stress.
Well, man, we're just about out of time on this one, and I really enjoyed this conversation a lot. I'd love to have you back on the call at some point in the future, Mike. So I always ask one question to finish up a call. You've obviously been successful with your educational background. You're highly successful with your clients. You're building a business around all of these philosophies you've shared today. What is your secret to success, my man?
It's probably the secret, there is no secret type thing, which is, it's not the thing anyone wants to hear. But for me, the biggest things that helped me was, I think acquiring more information is good, but I also think you have to do two things with that. Take that information and go, okay, if this is over here, what I believe to be true, does this fit or does it not fit? And just because it doesn't fit doesn't mean that you throw it out, right? It's the old thing that, hey, if I spend all my time looking for white swans, trying to prove that every single one of them is white, I can find thousands and thousands, and some guy from wherever posts a picture on the internet of a black one, like, well, crap. Now my whole theory that all swans are all swans are white is now disproven by one data point, right? So I think you should look to see if the data doesn't agree, how does that change your hypothesis? And then what do you do in relation to action? So there's, I think, a lot of, and this happens in any field, fitness people who only collect data, but they don't go, how does this fit with everything else? And then what does this change for what I would do in terms of action, right? Because at the end of the day, your client doesn't give a crap of how much information you know. I mean, rarely do I ever get clients that ask me, what is my background or very complex physiology things, but they want the background so that I can give them better actions to do to get closer to their goal, right? So take new information, does it agree, does it disagree, and then what action will you actually do with that information? I think if you take away the action portion, then you're just left with this whole hodgepodge of information, and I think it just confuses people at that point. So
I think people get confused themselves, like we talked about early on in the podcast. So,
oh yeah, and it's part of the process too. So I always like that people are going out and getting more information, which is sadly more than what most people do. It's just the next step of how would you apply it, and does it agree or disagree with where you're at? So,
sure, man. Well, Mike T. Nelson, thank you so much for coming on the call, brother. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I greatly appreciate it. It's been a good time. Thank you very much.